And we're starting with WWE, and in recent weeks, comments made on TV have caught the attention of fans who believe the company is teasing the return of CM Punk. From lines used by Punk in his ROH days to Seth Rollins claiming to be the best in the world, many fans are speculating on a possible Punk return, including after a comment made at Fastlane. On the show, Corey Graves used the line, "Life on the edge of a lightning bolt," which was the exact phrase Punk had used on his Instagram story when marking the 10th anniversary of his partnership with Paul Heyman. While some have pointed at this as another sign of Punk's comeback, Graves took to Twitter to say that the mental gymnastics some fans are participating in are akin to Olympic gymnast Simone Biles. Explaining the line, Graves said he was quoting Dusty Rhodes, who Corey worked closely with in NXT, and encouraged experts to do some homework. Many have said that Survivor Series would be the right time to bring Punk back, given that it'll be in his native Chicago, but WWE may hold off on his return if a deal is reached. PW Insider reports that WWE sources suggested it'd be better to keep Punk's return for the Royal Rumble next January, and the event would mark a decade since Punk walked out of WWE. Corey Graves has made it clear that he wasn't referencing CM Punk, but to be fair, if WWE do want to keep Punk's return a surprise, isn't that exactly what he would say? With Roman Reigns returning to WWE TV this Friday, it remains to be seen who he'll be feuding with, as despite previous reports, it won't be John Cena who faces the Tribal Chief at Crown Jewel. On Wrestling Observer Radio, it was revealed that LA Knight will be the one to face Reigns in Riyadh in a match that Knight shouldn't be booked to lose cleanly. Instead, we expect a DQ win for Knight due to Bloodline interference, which will keep Knight strong and lead to their feud continuing until Survivor Series. Having Knight be simply and definitively pinned at Crown Jewel will derail much of his momentum, while a DQ win gives fans a reason to see another match, one that'd be right at home in Chicago. WWE has already been sowing the seeds of Knight vs. Reigns, as it was Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa representing the Bloodline who lost to Knight and John Cena at Fastlane. This likely won't sit well with the Tribal Chief, and we can already picture Reigns berating his cousins in the ring, only to be interrupted by Knight's music. The last few weeks has seen the Bloodline take a back seat in WWE, thanks in part to Reigns' hiatus, which has given others the chance to shine. Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits have seized this opportunity, and there has already been talks of the heel trio adding a fourth member to their ranks. Lashley formed his alliance with Ford and Dawkins after a brief hiatus a few weeks ago, and since then, the Profits have displayed a more ruthless side, with their choice of attire changing drastically. The group's first in-ring showing, however, saw the trio lose to the LWO and Carlito at Fastlane, and according to reports, Odyssey Jones could be brought in as the group's newest member. There's been a lot of buzz on social media with the idea, with some even saying that the group could replace the Bloodline as SmackDown's top act. Jones hasn't been seen on WWE TV in nearly 6 months, and while he was drafted to Raw earlier this year, it has been reported that he could be moved to SmackDown. Whether Jones is destined to walk into SmackDown wearing a suit, time will tell, but don't be surprised if Lashley's faction gets a fourth member soon. At Fastlane, Seth Rollins defeated Shinsuke Nakamura in a last man standing match to retain the World Heavyweight title in a bout that went all over the arena. At one point, when the pair were facing off in the crowd, Nakamura kicked Rollins over the guardrail and down to the concrete floor below, or at least that's what WWE wants fans to think. In fan-recorded footage, it can be seen that when Rollins went over the railing, he landed safely on a crash pad before quickly rolling to the floor. On WWE TV, the spot was filmed in a way that fans at home couldn't see the crash mat and were left believing that Rollins had fallen to the concrete below in what would have been a highly dangerous spot. While WWE superstars put their health on the line every time they compete, WWE wanted to keep Rollins as safe as possible, and this crash mat was something the company didn't want you to see. During the post-Fastlane press conference, Jey Uso was there to speak about his undisputed tag title victory with Cody Rhodes, or at least that was the plan. As the new champions arrived, Cody said, "Full disclosure, Uso and I may have had a libation or two on the bus," and it was clear throughout the interview that Jey was not exactly the soberest person in the room. Even before Cody arrived, Jey had begun showing some off behavior, including checking the mic and asking the media if they enjoyed his newly remixed theme. Jey then started a brief rendition of his theme, complete with humorous gestures and body movements, before Rhodes made his appearance. When Jey was asked by the press if he'd ever considered winning tag gold with anyone other than Jimmy, Jey struggled for words, and his response ended with an odd sound on the mic, which caused Cody to crack up. From stumbling over his words as he spoke about the press betting money on them losing, to mentioning Dustin Rhodes, to the occasional yeet, it was clear from the get-go that Jey was drunk. On Twitter, fans had a field day, with one commenting that Jey Uso is definitely drunk, and another said that he was massively drunk, and the fans loved every minute of it. Jey would also admit that there was some alcohol on the bus, but the new tag team champions were able to make it through the press conference without things getting too out of hand. Cody was able to hold things together much better than Jey, who was wilding out a bit, but at times, Rhodes couldn't help but laugh at his tag team partner's actions. It's not hard to see why Jey had some booze in him, as he had plenty to celebrate at Fastlane, and we're not just talking about winning the undisputed WWE Tag Team titles. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reports that Jey is held in high regard within WWE, and he also proved to be immensely popular when it comes to merch at WWE's late September live events. WWE has had high expectations for Jey Uso in a prominent role outside of the Bloodline angle, and his merchandise performance met those expectations. The report added that Cody Rhodes stood out for outselling generic WWE merchandise, which is typically the top seller, as the American Nightmare remains a clear draw among fans. These merchandise reports show just how popular and marketable Jey and Cody are, as it is clear that fans want much more of the American Nightmare and main event Jey Uso. It was during last week's AEW Collision that Big Bill and Ricky Starks captured the AEW tag titles, practically squashing one of the best tag teams today in FTR. Many were surprised by the one-sided nature of the match, and on Wrestling Observer Radio, it was explained that FTR quickly lost the titles because Cash Wheeler is injured. On Twitter, Dax Harwood spoke about their 185-day title reign, saying, "What a run, I love you all. Top guys out," which led some to suspect that the pair may be on their way out of AEW. Harwood later clarified that he says top guys out all the time and AEW is their home, but fans won't be seeing the top guys while Wheeler deals with his injury. On the most recent episode of AEW Dynamite, Wardlow made his return to TV, and fans may have missed a nod to Wardlow's past that was part of his return. On his wrist tape, only those watching very closely will have seen the letters MJF written on, a nod to Wardlow's early days with the Devil before breaking free from MJF's control last year. With this wrist tape and nod to MJF, fans are wondering whether the pair will become allies again, or if another feud is in the works, and we'll have to keep tuned in to find out. On last week's Collision, Adam Copeland cut a promo in the ring about Christian Cage, which was cut short by Cage's allies Luchasaurus and Nick Wayne. Despite the appearance of Darby Allin, the show went off the air with Copeland being attacked by the heels, but Luchasaurus may be the one dealing with an injury. On Wrestling Observer Radio, it was stated that Luchasaurus is believed to have suffered a broken finger during the fray, which is the last thing AEW needs right now, with many talent already hurt. It was also reported that after Darby Allin took a concerto to his arm, he was seen in an arm brace, which may just be an angle to sell the attack, but it unfortunately may be more. If Allin is legitimately injured, then this too will force AEW to change plans, as it appears that Allin and Sting will be Copeland's allies against Luchasaurus, Wayne, and the reigning TNT champion. AEW Dynamite Title Tuesday will see Cage explain himself to Copeland and Copeland's debut match against Luchasaurus, and we'll hopefully have a clearer picture on their condition tomorrow night. It has been less than 2 months since the wrestling world lost Bray Wyatt, and while the former world champion is no longer with us, plans related to Wyndham Rotunda are not over yet. As Ringside News previously reported, someone has proposed the concept to reintroduce Uncle Howdy to WWE TV, an idea that is not coming from higher-ups. Triple H is said to be receptive to listening to ideas rather than imposing them, which has typically been Vince McMahon's approach, but WWE is in a new era where ideas flow more freely. BWE has now added that there are still ideas for the Firefly Funhouse and the Wyatt6 stable on the table, and it's only a matter of time before these stories are on TV. All parties involved have agreed to move ahead with the idea and deliver what is best to honor Bray Wyatt, but there is no word on when ideas will make it to TV. Yesterday marked the 1-year anniversary of Wyatt's return to WWE at Extreme Rules 2022, and what do you make of these plans? Let us know in the comments down below. After signing with WWE last month, Jade Cargill made her WWE TV debut at Fastlane by arriving in style to the event during the kickoff show and being greeted by Triple H. Cargill's arrival in WWE has had the wrestling world talking, and fans are interested to see what's next for her, and it's not just those outside the business who are interested. Ringside News was told that a ton of people have been talking about Cargill within WWE, and that the former AEW TBS champion made a great first impression in Indianapolis. Sources said that there was a ton of buzz backstage about how professional Cargill was, how impressive she is up close, how well she'll fit in, and how quickly she's already doing just that. Triple H said on the post-Fastlane press conference that Cargill will break WWE wide open, and as they prepare her for big things, it's anyone's guess how big her name will be in WWE this time next year. But what do you hope to see for Cargill over the next 12 months? Should she join a stable or find success on her own? Let us know your ideas down below. It was during the post-Fastlane press conference that Triple H spoke about the success of the October 7th show, which was the highest grossing event that the company has ever done in Indianapolis. That's quite the feat considering the events that have happened in the city over the years, as Indianapolis has played home to Survivor Series, SummerSlam, and even WrestleMania 7 in 1992. Despite these shows, it was Fastlane and its 14,529 that took home the record, and Ringside News was told that everyone felt great behind the scenes about Fastlane, and it's not hard to see why. We will have to see if Indianapolis gets another WrestleMania event. Pat McAfee certainly thinks it's a good idea, judging by the promo he cut during the premium live event. During a backstage segment at Fastlane, the Judgment Day wisely advised Damian Priest against cashing in his Money in the Bank contract, saying that he'd been banged up during the night's opening tag title match. It turns out that Priest had legitimately been feeling worse for wear prior to the show, and by the Monday before Fastlane, he wasn't even cleared to compete due to an issue with his left shoulder. Over the week, Priest was examined further and was deemed qualified to wrestle, but the tag title match that happened at Fastlane very nearly had to be nixed. At Fastlane, Io Sky retained the Women's Championship thanks to an assist from Bayley after weeks of the role model accidentally causing problems for her ally. Some feel it's just a matter of time before Damage Control implodes, and WWE may be giving very subtle clues by referencing a previous storyline. During a recent SmackDown segment, Charlotte Flair said that Bayley was once a star, but is now a lackey, and fans online noticed that this segment was very similar to a 2020 program. 3 years ago, Charlotte was telling Sasha Banks that she was once a star, but had become Bayley's lackey, and it wouldn't be long after that that Sasha and Bayley would be feuding. Not long after Flair's comments in 2020, Bayley would say she didn't need Sasha's help, and sure enough, Sky said recently that she doesn't need Bayley's help. In 2020, Bayley would pin Charlotte to retain her SmackDown Women's title, and as we saw at Fastlane, Sky would pin Flair to keep her gold. Is WWE teasing Damage Control's split by giving nods to this 2020 angle, or is it a mere coincidence? Give your thoughts in the comments. Over to NXT, as the Gold brand has been teasing the arrival of a mystery person in recent vignettes, though it's no secret that these vignettes are hyping up Brian Pillman Jr. The first vignette showed a mysterious figure watching TV clips that all related to Pillman's late father, and an extended version of that vignette has continued to tease Pillman Jr.'s arrival. In the latest clip, the mysterious person watches these clips before watching clips of WWE TV, with Charlotte Flair, Randy Orton, Dominic Mysterio, Braun Breaker, Von Wagner, and Jey Uso appearing. You might be wondering what these people have in common before realizing that these are all multi-generational wrestlers, just like Pillman Jr. The clip ends with the TV being turned off and part of the face of a long-haired blonde man being visible, just more proof that Brian Pillman Jr. will very soon be part of NXT. We mentioned earlier that WWE Fastlane proved to be another highly successful show for WWE, but the same couldn't be said for AEW Collision, which continues to struggle with its live crowd. According to WrestleTix, the October 7th Collision saw 2,245 tickets distributed, and it was said that some sections had next to nobody in the top 2 rows. Some comments said that a poor house was visible on TV at times, and that this number would mark the lowest attendance for a TV taping outside of Daly's place. During Wrestling Observer Radio, Brian Alvarez noted that AEW hires seat fillers to make the crowd seem more packed than it is, and that he was once asked on the door at a Washington show if he was press or a seat filler. Although AEW hires seat fillers, they obviously didn't use them during Collision, or if they did, it certainly didn't come across well during the most recent show in Salt Lake City. It should be noted that seat fillers are normal in wrestling, and that WWE has used them in the past, but didn't need anyone to help out at the sold-out Fastlane in Indianapolis. AEW has seen plenty of dramatic transformations over the past 4 years, with most of them being for the better since 2019, but there was a time when AEW almost wasn't AEW. On the latest episode of Hey EW, the Young Bucks dropped a bombshell that's making wrestling fans everywhere breathe a sigh of relief as they revealed what the company was almost called. The Bucks revealed that the company was very close to being dubbed World's Best Wrestling, a name that would have no doubt earned mockery from fans around the world. Thankfully, All Elite Wrestling was the name that won out, and we doubt that fans would have taken kindly to being told that they were watching the World's Best Wrestling rather than come to that decision themselves. AEW has a lot of talented women on its roster, and now fans can add Lady Frost to the names to watch on programming. Bodyslam.net reports that Frost actually signed with AEW months ago, and fans can expect to see the Ice Queen on AEW TV soon enough. Now, Thunder Rosa was once a regular on TV before a severe back injury led to her vacating the AEW Women's World title last year. Following this back injury that has kept her sidelined for a year, Rosa is expected to make her return soon, a long-anticipated return considering she was set for the AEW Collision roster when the show began. In June, several stars on hiatus, including Rosa, Miro, and Andrade El Idolo, were advertised for Collision, but she is the only one who has yet to return to the promotion. Brian Alvarez reports that Rosa is almost on the final stages of her recovery process and is expected to return soon, and on Twitter, Rosa shared a photo with Adam Copeland and said it was a delight to meet him and Beth Phoenix. We know Copeland will wrestle on Title Tuesday, but there's no confirmation when Rosa will wrestle next, and we'll have to see what's in store for her when she's finally back in the ring. In October of last year, Mandy Rose's brother Richie died at the age of 40. Clearly a difficult time for Rose, but it wouldn't be long before fans saw her back in the ring in NXT. Speaking on the Power Alphas podcast, Rose spoke about her brother, and her fiancé/podcast host Tino Sabatelli accused WWE of pressuring Rose to wrestle too soon after the tragedy. Let's note that less than 10 days after your brother's passing, you were a main event star of a big pay-per-view that WWE kind of put a little bit of pressure on you. Listen, we all have a job at the end of the day and life goes on, and I really admired that you went out and defended your belt, defended your title, won, carried the card. You were the biggest star on the card, and I think that is a symbolize of who you are as a woman. Rose recently posted a touching tribute to her brother on the 1-year anniversary of his passing, as the former superstar will always remember how important he was to her life. With Adam Copeland, Christian Cage, and the Hardy Boys all in AEW, fans have been wondering if one of the most legendary tag team feuds in history could be rekindled. On his Extreme Life podcast, Matt Hardy spoke about this possibility and why he believes it is only a matter of time. He said, "I pretty much feel that it is inevitable when you say that, but like you said, we are a long way away. I mean, you have to remember that Edge is such a huge deal on his own. I still think that Adam Copeland and Christian Cage still have a lot of stuff to do on their own. I think down the road they obviously will reunite, they reconcile, they'll figure out things one way or the other, and then we'll be back together." Given Copeland and Cage's animosity, it may be a long time before we see Edge and Christian face the Hardys one more time, but it'll happen if Matt Hardy is to be believed. Now, Bobby Roode's last WWE match was at a house show at the Amarillo Civic Center in Amarillo, Texas on June 25, 2022. Omos beat him in that singles match, and fans haven't seen him wrestle since. He needed neck surgery, but he found a new place in WWE in the process. Ringside News reached out to inquire about Bobby Roode's current status. We've been able to confirm that he is a producer now, and he is no longer an active competitor. Only time will tell if Bobby Roode finds himself in an on-screen situation, much like Adam Pearce has as a producer for the company. After all, Bobby Roode has a ton of experience on screen. Right now, Roode is a producer for WWE, and all signs point to it staying that way. And we're ending today with Cassie Lee, who has held tag team gold in both WWE and Impact Wrestling, but now the former Peyton Royce has captured a singles championship. As part of World Series Wrestling's Final Throttle Tour, Lee competed in a gauntlet match to become the new WSW Women's Champion, and on Twitter, the champ was clearly very happy with her win.